Hence, I think our last class we actually talked about the reference ranges, so we dealt very well on it. Now we're going to looking at intestinal function test. Intestinal function test. Now the intestine, which is also known as the bowel, is a winding muscular tube. We understand what I mean by a winding muscular tube. It looks like a rope that is intertwined. So it's a winding muscular tube extending from the stomach to the anus. You can go and look at the diagram of how the stomach, intestine, and anus, how it looks. The intestine. Its main purpose is to digest food. The main purpose of the intestine is to digest food. Okay, so we'll go ahead. Now, the intestine is not only there for digestion, because some persons think the intestine is just there for digestion. No, it's not only there for digestion. It also produces various substances that carry messages to the other parts of the body. And it plays an important role in fighting germs and regulating the body's water balance. There is a particularly high number of nerve cells in the wall of the intestine. For some people, the intestine reflects how they are feeling. For some people, the intestine reflects on how they are feeling. That is, they might get a stomach ache, diarrhea, or constipation when they are stressed or upset about something. Now, the small intestine, which is a part of the intestine now, the small intestine, which is directly connected to the stomach, is about 3 to 5 meters long, end to end. That's from where it starts to where it ends. It's about 3 to 5 meters long. It is made up of 3 sections. The small intestine is made up of 3 sections. We have the duodenum, we have the jejunum, and we have the ileum. The duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. The inside wall of the small intestine has folds. It has a fold, kind of a rough part. So it has folds in it. And this makes the surface area very high. I don't know if you know the name of the fold. It has folds. And those folds are called microvilli. They are called microvilli. So they are just rough. So it makes the surface area very big. Its main purpose is to digest food. Its main purpose is to digest food. Some of the intestinal function tests include 1. Your complete blood count, CBC, your liver enzyme/hepatic function test, urinalysis, MCS, that's microscopy, culture, and sensitivity test. The intestinal function tests. Now, we are going to be looking at one of the roles that the intestine plays, which is digestion. The small intestine, one of the roles it plays is digestion. Now, in order to sustain themselves, all organisms must obtain nutrients from the environment. In order to sustain themselves, all organisms must obtain nutrients from the environment. Some nutrients serve as raw materials for the synthesis of cellular material. Others, for example, many vitamins, act as regulators of chemical reactions. And still others, upon oxidation, yield energy. Now, not all nutrients, however, are in a form suitable for immediate use by an organism. Some must undergo physical and chemical changes before they can serve as energy or cell substance. Now, through the act of eating or ingesting, when you eat your food or when you ingest your food, nutrients are taken from the environment. Many nutrient molecules are so large and complex that they must be split into smaller molecules before being used by the organism. Now, this process of breaking down food into molecular particles of usable size and content is called digestion. So if you are asked, what is digestion? So this is a process of what? Breaking down of food into molecular particles, smaller sizes that the body can make use off. Now, when digestion is finished, it results in many simple nutrient molecules. Of course, when big molecules have been broken down, it results in many simple nutrient molecules that must go through the process of absorption from the GIT, this is the gastrointestinal tract, by blood or lymph, so they can be used by cells throughout the body. A few substances are absorbed in the stomach and large intestine. For example, water is absorbed in both small and large intestine, and some minerals and vitamins are also absorbed in the large intestine. Now, however, about 95% of nutrient molecules are absorbed in the small intestine. Take note. However, about 95% of nutrient molecules are absorbed in the small intestine. Now, in the absorption of the majority of these molecules takes place in the second part of the small intestine, which is known as the jejunum. However, there are a few exceptions, e.g., iron is absorbed in the duodenum. I hope you are taking notes. Iron is absorbed in the duodenum and vitamin B12 is absorbed in the ileum. So I've mentioned some absorption parts in the small intestine. We said iron is absorbed in the duodenum. Vitamin B12 is absorbed in the ileum. Then we also said absorption of majority of molecules takes place in the second part of the small intestine, which is known as what? The jejunum. After absorption in the small intestine, nutrient molecules are transported to other parts of the body for storage. A further chemical for storage. So other parts of the body for storage. Amino acids are transported to the liver to be used for protein synthesis. Now, the epithelial tissue lining the small intestine is specialized for absorption. Listen, the epithelial tissue that lines the small intestine is specialized for absorption. Now, it has many wrinkles and is covered with villi. You know, we said the small intestine is not just for absorption alone. It's not just for digestion alone. Even absorption takes place too. Those villi also helps in absorption of nutrients. It has many wrinkles and covered with villi and microvilli, creating an enormous surface area for absorption. The thin surface layer of the epithelial cells of the villi transports nutrients from the lumen of the small intestine into the capillaries Now, we'll continue. So blood in the capillaries absorb most of the molecules. Of course, know that blood carries a lot of nutrients. So it absorbs most of the molecules, including simple sugars, amino acids, glycerols, salts, and water-soluble vitamins, which are vitamin C and many B vitamins. Now, lymph in the lacteals absorbs fatty acids and fat-soluble vitamins. The fat-soluble vitamins are termed as ADEK, vitamin A, D, E, and K. Now, you may have temporal malabsorption during a bout of stomach flu, but malabsorption disorders that last a long time occur from an underlying condition that you have had for a long time. Malabsorption has many causes, but they fall into a few general categories. Damage to the lining of the small intestine now. Now listen up. It said your small intestine is where most of the nutrient absorption happens. Most of the nutrient absorption happens.